Let's bring in Ali Rizk. He's a security affairs analyst and he joins us live from the Lebanese capital. Ali, you've been with us throughout the morning. I mean, many observers say it was predictable that Hezbollah would take action after the supreme leader was killed. Did Hezbollah sense that perhaps the Iranian regime had been weakened and that they had to react?
That's one scenario, because obviously if the Iranian regime is in existential danger, that means Hezbollah would be in existential danger. So that's one possibility. But there's another possibility which can't be entirely dismissed. The fact that Iran enjoys much more influence over Hezbollah than it did when Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the previous Secretary General, was in charge of the movement. With Sheikh Naim Qasim, it said that Iran has much more of a say regarding Hezbollah's strategy. There were reports before the eruption of the war against Iran that many Revolutionary Guards figures are now in Lebanon. So that's also, I think, a scenario which can't be dismissed, that this was something which was inevitable, and it's about Iran's outsized influence over Hezbollah in the post-Nasrallah period. So indeed, that's something, I think, which again can't be discounted. It would explain very much so why Hezbollah chose to carry out this operation now, or why perhaps... Go ahead.
Yeah, Ali, let me just jump in there. I mean, Lebanon's Prime Minister just released a statement saying that launching projectiles from southern Lebanon is an irresponsible and suspicious act. Does this now increase those long-standing tensions between Hezbollah and Lebanon's political leadership?
It will. And as you just mentioned, the tensions already exist, particularly between the Prime Minister and Hezbollah. The Prime Minister has been very insisting, even more than the President, on the disarmament of Hezbollah, on the monopolization of arms, meaning that the state being the sole bearer of arms. And this is bound to further intensify and increase the tensions. But again, you have to ask, how much control did Hezbollah have over this decision? Was it the Revolutionary Guards and their outsized influence over Hezbollah which led to this outcome? That's a very, very possible scenario. On the other hand, as you mentioned, it could be that Hezbollah basically saw that perhaps the Iranian government, the regime, is in danger, and so it had to act. Let's not forget that the Americans and the Israelis in particular have been saying that this is about regime change. So if that was the case, it would be inevitable for Hezbollah to intervene. Hezbollah can't allow for regime change. I heard you mentioning how Hezbollah started the operations in support of Gaza. Now, obviously, the links between Hezbollah and Iran are much more powerful compared to the links between Hezbollah and Hamas. Let's be honest about that. So if you look at it from that angle, I think it's only logical to reach this conclusion that once the situation intensifies against the Iranian government, Hezbollah was bound to act.
Ali, so what are Hezbollah's ideological and political concerns now that the Iranian supreme leader has been killed? And is it, and that Israel's at war with Iran? Because this, as you point out, could even pose a serious threat to Hezbollah's very existence.
It will. Now, the late Ayatollah Khamenei, he was known to be a very outspoken supporter of Hezbollah. Now, with the assassination of Khamenei, would this maybe perhaps some people have said, due to Khamenei's personal support for Hezbollah, this could undermine the Lebanese movement? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's more institutional, the Iranian support for Hezbollah, more than being at a personal level. But should the character of the Islamic Republic change, should it cease to be an Islamic Republic, then, of course, Hezbollah is in existential danger. And as you mentioned, you have the important ideological element. Hezbollah, by far, is Iran's closest ideological ally. It's the only group that subscribes to the 12th Imam, compared to other groups like the Ansar Allah movement and some other groups in Iraq as well. So there are very, very various dimensions or layers, if you would like, that make the bonds so close between Iran and Hezbollah. And for that reason, if indeed the Iranian government, or the Islamic Republic, should I say, is in danger, Hezbollah would intervene to save its own existence, not to mention the ideological cause which is involved.
What does all of this mean then, Ali, for the ceasefire agreement that's supposed to be in existence between Israel and Lebanon since November 2024? It's been violated by the Israelis on a near daily basis.
It has been, indeed. If you look at the Hezbollah statement, by the way, regarding the missile attacks which took place, which the Lebanese movement launched, the statement refers, first of all, to the assassination of Khamenei, and it also refers to the ongoing Israeli violations and attacks. So basically what the statement says is that this is in revenge for the assassination of Khamenei. At the same time, it's in defense of Lebanon's own sovereignty and its occupation. Now, the second part of that statement is basically designed to fortify Hezbollah's situation domestically in Lebanon, because had that statement only referred to Khamenei, then the accusations would intensify, and the accusations that Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy would have a lot more credibility. So that's why there was two dimensions in that statement. But the ceasefire, I think, is now very fragile. It was fragile to begin with because of the Israeli ongoing violations and the ongoing Israeli occupation, as you said. And now with this latest development, it's also increased the fragility. Now, this brings me to what the Americans will do, because let's not forget that this is an American-sponsored ceasefire agreement. Will the Americans want to try and preserve this agreement as their own achievement, or will the Americans be fully on board with the Israelis in an attempt to eliminate Hezbollah?
Ali, just a final thought to you. I mean, Hezbollah, as we know, has been seriously weakened by Israeli attacks over the last 2 years or so. Israel has already wiped out much of the Hezbollah old guard leadership, its command and control. How is this likely to play out then? Will Israel now increase the tempo of their attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon? Because they want to seize this chance now, don't they?
You raise a very important point. They do want to seize this chance now, yes. But how much can Israel at the same time withstand? It's already being subject to rocket fire, missile fire from Iran, very, very intense attacks from Iran. Now, if they were to go to a full-scale war with Hezbollah, which seems to be happening, they'll have to withstand some rocket fire from Hezbollah. And I think a big question, the major question here is, how much of a formidable arsenal does Hezbollah still have left? Would it be able to continue with the same firepower that we're accustomed to in previous rounds, or will it somewhat be weakened? Now, given the fact that they initiated or they carried out this operation, this leads one to conclude that there is still quite a formidable arsenal which will be able to continue to respond to the Israeli attacks for some time.
All right, Ali Rizk there in Beirut. Ali, as always, thank you for your analysis and your thoughts.